Let's start the class today. Today we are going to talk about the 6 ghosts of fear. And yes, I had another class prepared, but I feel like I've been two things. One is like lately, in the last couple weeks, I had 2 clients and a really good friend. I got really sick, like really fast and unexpectedly. And like the common trait between them is that they got into a lot of fear. I mean, of course, it was really like bad things. Like my friend, she got a stroke, and she had to have 3 brain surgeries in 4 days.
Oh.
And she's going to, you know, like she has to learn everything again, like walking, talking, eating, everything again. I mean, like she's 52 and her life was, I mean, like super healthy, super thin. Her life flipped and it changed, you know, like everything.
Turned upside down.
Yeah. And then one of my clients, I text her because I for a couple of days I didn't hear from her, and usually we stay in touch. And I text her and she said, "I don't know, Jamie, I don't feel good. I cannot breathe." And I say, "Go to the hospital. I don't like this." I thought it was COVID, right? Like I cannot breathe. I feel like a weight in my chest, and it turned out that her mitral valve had a tear. So she had open heart surgery like 24 hours later.
Oh my God.
I mean, like crazy stuff. And last Friday, another client, she texted me and she says, "Can I see you today?" And I thought, that's weird because, you know, like she had scheduled like for next week. Like it was close to the beginning of the week. And I said, "Sure, I will be at the office. Show up whenever you can because I don't see clients on Friday." So she showed up, and it turned out that she had stage 4 colon cancer.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's crazy. All of them are between 50 and 55.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And all of them, of course, you know, like except for Anna, the one that had open heart surgery, she's been working with me for a year, and she sent me the sweetest message, like, "You have been preparing me for this. I am very calm. I am not stressing out. I'm taking it like as it comes." I mean, like she was, you know, like with a very positive mindset. The other one on Friday, she was, you know, like trying to absorb all the information about, you know, cancer and all of that. It's just there is a lot going on physically and emotionally for people, and it will be way more.
Yes.
Because
yes,
this time is being emotionally extremely demanding. You know, like we had to put our emotions and I mean, like all the strength that we have been using it. We are using all the strength that we have to stay afloat. It's very interesting because, like, even a student this morning, in this afternoon, too, I had an appointment with one of the students. She's taking a master's degree in chemistry, and she says, I have to reschedule. I have a horrible migraine. I am throwing up. I cannot be 1 hour more on the screen. So she was since 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. in front of the screen with Zoom calls. And she said, "I cannot do anymore. I mean, like the migraine is killing me." So it is very demanding because we have to adjust our life to other technologies, to other ways of relating to others. And it's not like it's impossible or it's not something that we won't be able to do, because we will come up with solutions and we will do it. But it's just, it takes more energy out of us. Like today I was talking to one of my consultants. She's helping me with marketing strategy and things like this, because I am preparing for TED Talk that is going to be scheduled for next year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was helping me to do speaking engagements in Zoom calls, because apparently
Ah,
this is what is going to be happening from now on. And you know, like they have all these techniques like standing up and a board in the back, and um, all kinds of things that I don't know. You know, like I am more of having people close to me and hug them once in a while, right?
mhm.
Like instead of, you know, like having a screen and people. But she was saying it's a good thing for you, because instead of reaching out 100 people, you can reach out 100,000, right? So it's,
Whoa.
yeah, so it is, it's another world. So
Wow.
you know, like I ended up the meeting so overwhelmed with everything that I thought, oh my gosh, how I can possibly adjust to all of this, right? And we need a digestion process. We have to have a digestion process, because when we learn something new, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. But then you adjust and you are fine. And then the next challenge, you know, like you will adjust to that one and you will grow it up. So it's all those things that are different and changing and evolving in a way that force you to stretch your emotional core, your intellectual core, everything that you know. And one of the barriers that we all find is there is fear in different forms or shapes, right? And this one is a really good lesson, because it talks about different 6 ghosts of fear, 6 types of fear that people has the most. And in all of them, I mean, some of them you will relate, because we all have or had things like this, right? Like first ghost of fear, I'm going to name them all, and then we will break it down in each one of them. Okay, so there is the fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. So when we talk about and I know, you know, like fear is basically one thing, is fear, right? And when we go into fear, it sends you automatically to survival. So basically, the thought process gets cut off on half. I mean, like there is a lot of sure action or reaction, because we go into survival mode. But when we talk about the fear of poverty, there is things that we all can relate in one or more of those. So one is different points. One is indifference. So indifference usually is being expressed for people that has fear of poverty, is being expressed through lack of ambition, willingness to tolerate poverty, right? Like sometimes people, you know, like they cannot, I don't know if you have people around you. I mean, I do very few, but I do know some people that they don't have lack of ambition. And when we talk about lack of ambition, it's not only of poverty, it's not only about money, it's about life, right? Like poverty of life is poverty of not experiencing life, not having experiences, right? Like, oh, I'm okay, you know, like I am surviving, I am living, I bought this house, or I bought this house and I stay in this house and everything happens here, and I don't socialize, I don't go places because everything costs money, and you know, like I am not willing to do anything else to do more, right? So that's a very common one. The other one within the fear of poverty is indecision. Indecision is a very interesting one, and like when I was thinking about this one, is very interesting because it involves so many things. So indecision is one big thing and involves, it has a lot of facets. But basically what it is allowing others to do the thinking, allowing others to make the decisions. We all know people that does that, right? Like they never make a decision. You have to think for them and you have to make the decisions. Today we are going there because this is what happens. Tomorrow, and they always ask, what do you want to do? What do you want to do, right? Like there's a very funny thing that my mom does, which is when there is too many parking spots, if we are driving, she is driving, and we are going to a parking lot, and if there is many openings, she never knows where to park. I don't know where to park. Well, park the one, whatever, you know, like there is no doubt about that. But, you know, like it's indecision. When we have indecision in small things like that one, we have indecision about everything. Imagine making big decisions, right? Not gonna happen. Doubt is another one, right? Like doubt usually is expressed through design cover up of failures and criticizing others that are successful, right? Like people that no, I'm going to say we, because we all had or have that one, self-doubt, right? Like at one point in our lives, we all did. Like at least when you are a teenager, you have self-doubt. You question yourself all the time. And then you make excuses for the things that are not working, right? Mm-hmm. And you criticize people that has better life and they don't care and they are sure and secure of themselves, right? Like self-confident. So this is a very doubt, self-doubt is very I don't know the word, but it comes up, the word that comes to my mind is diminishing. It's very self-diminishing. It makes you very small. I think it's one of the most corrosive expressions of fear for us, like doubting ourselves. Another one is worry. Worry is worry when we are worried or when we are stressed, which is different word, different negative emotion inside, but it triggers the same kind of things. And one of the things that triggers is cortisol, right? Like when we are in worry, we are in stress, we are in survival. We are fighting life, you know, like we are fighting for life, and often we are fighting life. Like we resist living, right? And then instead of saying, well, instead of going, you know what, I'm just not, no, I'm not going to do that now because it might cost it will cost money, and then I will, who knows if it works, and it probably, I have a friend that she loves travel, and she says, I had, you know, like she always makes that example that there is people that plans this really big trip, right? Like I'm going to go to Europe during the summer, right? And I will spend a month and I will go to Spain, to France, to Italy. I might go and take a cruise in the Mediterranean, and then from the Mediterranean, wherever, Barcelona or Geneva, I will fly back home. Well, since I have my flight, I mean, I will end up being at home, maybe I just should stay, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because the trip is going to end at home, maybe I should just stay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just why bother when you end up at home? That's exactly. Funny.
Right? So it's people that tries to make excuses for, you know, like not doing anything, not doing life. Also, worry is the tendency is to neglect a physical appearance, right? Like people that won't spend money in looking good for themselves, right? Like looking good for everybody looks different, but for oneself, right? Like you feel good on your clothes, you feel good in your shoes, you feel good the way that you show up in the world, and they don't spend anything because you know, like they are stingy or they belittle themselves, right? So that's also another is part of the fear or worry. And then there is the big one, which is overcaution, right? Like concentrating in the reasons that can go wrong in something instead of focusing the attention on the reasons that of the things that can go right, right? Like both those come from the same place, and is overthinking, right? We focus in the things that can go wrong or the things that can go right, and one allows you to do life, and the other one doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. And the last one of this fear of poverty is one that I found when I was working, I mean, like with my own clients, not so much, but when I was working in the behavioral health practice, one of the most popular one was this one, and it's procrastination. It's people that waits for taking action like forever. I will do it tomorrow. Oh yeah, I remember you told me that, I forgot, whatever excuses we have, right? Like in some level, we almost all do that, right? Like at some point, think that we don't want to do it all, but then, you know, like you keep it, you put it for tomorrow, and it's always hovering behind your neck, right? Like it's always there. So procrastination is another one that, you know, like you want to look at yourself where you do that, because it's the one that makes you feel like, it makes you feel bad about yourself. Because when we procrastinate, it's not about others. I mean, none of this is about others, it's always about you. But in procrastination, precisely, not other people might not even notice that you are procrastinating, but it makes you feel so bad about yourself, right? I mean, if you ever did that, I'm not a good procrastinator. I am an action taker, and I rarely procrastinate, but I did, you know, like in some occasions, you do things that, not so excited about that one, right? So procrastination is one of those things that this is bad for our self-consciousness. It's just really bad. Any questions so far, or any comments about this one? Fear of poverty.
Is the word you're saying, is it poverty or proper? I'm not sure what that word is.
Poverty.
Yeah,
it's fear of being poor, right? And when I say poor,
when you said, I thought it was, but I want to be sure. Okay.
Yeah. So when we say that, is poor on doing life, basically. Okay.
Right.
So fear of criticism. That's a very, very good one, right? Like we all fear, when we are children, we want to fit in. We want to be the ones that are sticking out, the ones that are being pointed out. We want to be like normal. Being normal, whatever it is in our minds, right? When you are, when you feel like you are being criticized, that definitely will stop you from showing up, right? Because you don't want to show up, you don't want to be seen. And with these ones, the points that you want to look at is self-conscious, right? Like usually it shows up like a nervousness or very timid. Somebody that is very timid, that they won't speak out, they won't express themselves, they get really restrictive and very shy. But of course, self-conscious, it doesn't mean that is a positive trait, right? Like one thing is being prudent, and the other one is being that self-conscious that will stop you from expressing yourself. Lack of poise, right? Lack of poise. Usually is a voice control, right? Like it's people that will be over talkers or nervous talkers, or people that makes a lot of noise, or like they are very animated, and that's a way to hide their flaws or the flaws that they think they have. We all know people like that. I mean, this one is a very interesting. I mean, like the top of my mind, at least 5 people came up from my past. Like when we were children, we had in the class, like they, unfortunately, teachers used to call them the class clowns. I mean, it was such a negative way of educating. But like I still see these people like that. Like when I listen to them, I never listen to them like I'm listening to somebody that was, like never pointed out like this, and they work so hard to keep up with that role, because often that role is what defines them in the future, right? Another one is the personality. Personality is shows up like expresses as the ability to express opinion, right? Like is when we talk about the traits of personality and the fear of criticism is when, oh, no, we don't want to say anything because we might be wrong, or no, we don't want to say anything because like how would I look if I say this, right? You question yourself. This is a very common one, right? Like I want to say that in all of us, we all had like problems expressing our opinion, even when our opinion is very valid and probably better than the most. We won't say it because like, oh, we don't want to look bad, or we don't want to look like maybe I am right but I'm not, right? Like doubt creeps in too.
Or it could be an intimidation where you feel you're less than someone and you're intimidated and you don't speak out.
Yes. Yeah. So this one is a very and the line is so fine, right? Because sometimes you can go from like you can go from being so self-conscious of what you want to say and or say something that is completely wrong, right? Another one is the inferiority complex, which is the one that Brenda was saying, right? Like when you feel like you are not as worth as somebody else, that you feel like somebody else is smarter or is wiser, or and then you question yourself. I remember having a conversation like years ago with a lady that was back in Barcelona, and she was really well known for doing some kind of energy work, right? And one day she said something, and I cannot even say it because I don't even remember well, but she said something and I thought, this is so wrong. I mean, like, like I didn't know that well, but I thought that sounds so wrong. And of course it was wrong, but I didn't say anything. And I allowed a friend of mine to have energy work done by that woman. And then, I thought this is horrible. I mean, like, it's horrible. And I didn't say anything. And then when my friend said, oh my gosh, I didn't feel good, I felt exhausted after leaving her, instead of feeling good and energized, no, she felt exhausted because, like probably she was talking all the time. I don't know. But, like I felt like I should have said something, and I didn't say it because I thought you don't know enough to say. Right? Like we have all these standards that it seems like that's the right standard, and we never get to the standard that we feel we should have, right? The last one in this sphere is self-approval, right? Like we because we doubt ourselves all the time. We are never enough. We are never good enough to approve ourselves, to say, oh yeah, I am strong enough in this thing, and I know, and I am speaking up, and I don't think about it. Because the other thing is, when we make like when we say something, when we express our opinion, and sometimes it might not be like perfection, but is still right. And then your mind records what you said, and you break it down in pieces afterwards, and that thought keeps creeping in your mind. I should have said that. I should have said that. I could have said that. I could have, right? Does it happen to you?
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
Because
yeah.
I do it all the time, and because I talk so much, it happens, right? Like, oh my gosh, maybe I should not have said that. In my case, it's usually that I should not have said that. Okay, so the next one is fear of ill health or illness, right? People that fears to get sick. And the points are very interesting. I mean, like all related with being sick, and we all, and at this time even more so, right? Like, it's one of those times that applies so well. Yesterday I was having, like everybody says, well, young people, they don't get it. They don't get the COVID, or when they get it, it's not that harsh on them, and they are not careful. They don't wear the masks. They don't care. Well, yesterday I was talking to my daughter, and I said, I'm gonna check, because I cannot fly there. But I said, maybe you can fly here, because in the past we thought this summer is done. She cannot come. I mean, she usually spends 3 months here, but this year, with COVID, this is not gonna happen. But I thought, now Europe closed Americans to go there, but maybe Europeans can come here. And my daughter said, I'm not coming. I am not coming here to get sick.
Wow.
So that was very weird, because she's 22 years old. And I said, well, but don't you go with friends? And she says, no, we do virtual stuff all the time. I am not meddling with friends right now. Like, for her, it's easy because she's a very indoors person. Like my son, that will be unthinkable. My daughter can stay indoors and live indoors, study indoors, and not needing to see the sunlight ever.
Wow.
Yes, like, it's unbelievable. Like, she's just a nerd. She reads all the time. She's like, the most fun that she will do is go to my brother's pool, and we'll invite a couple friends there. But that's the most fun that she, like, she has fun. It's just different fun that other people has. Like, she's a very indoors person. I have 2 children that are so extreme, one to the other one. Like, my son is the opposite, the other world. Like, he never needed technology. Like, this year he turned 25 in May. First time he asked me for an iPad. He doesn't even own a laptop. He doesn't need it. Cell phone, I think he was 19 when he thought, maybe I should buy a cell phone. He doesn't care at all. But he jumps off the cliff, mountain biking, up, down the glaciers. All the crazy stuff that you can imagine. But don't ask him to be sitting in a house. That will be killing him. That's terrible. Completely opposite. So autosuggestion is the first point, and this is a false expectation, right? Like, we are expecting the worst. And it applies to everything. Applies to illnesses, but also applies to life. False expectation of something is coming wrong to us. Now it's going well. This one is another one. I have an aunt that always makes this comment. oh, I am not going to say how good things are, because most likely something will happen that goes wrong. Right? That's the superstition. It's just so terrible. Hypochondria is, the second point is hypochondria is talking about illnesses all the time, right? Like, it is about thinking you get the illness, but it's mostly talking about, you know, like illnesses and being sick and going to the doctor's appointments and medication that I have to buy. There is a range type of people, but a range of age that have a tendency of talking about that kind of stuff all the time. Like people from, I want to say 60 to 70. Some people are really, or even younger. It's people that talks about illness all the time. Like my mom has a friend that she's only talks about that. The third point is exercise, and it's the fear to commitment, basically, right? Like, I'm not going to exercise because, well, all kinds of excuses, right? Like, I will be sore for days. I will be, you know, like, I never did exercise before. You know, when I was a kid, I never exercised, so I'm not gonna do it. They don't want to commit, right? Like, that's a commitment for them, and have commitment issues. Susceptibility, and that is basically body resistance, right? We resist change. We resist making improvements. We resist health, right? Like, we see the bad, and then we don't feel so good because we see the bad, and the bad is in us, right? Self-coddling, right?
What was the one before that? Where we resist health, we only see the bad. What was the word?
Is susceptibility.
Susceptibility. Okay.
Self-coddling, which is using imaginary illnesses to draw attention to you, right? Like, I have this problem, I have this I mean, like, things that are worse, like Munchausen syndrome. But, you know, like, there is people that still talks about illnesses to draw attention to them, right? Intemperance is about coping with pills, with drugs, or with alcohol. Right? Like, we feel that, I mean, it's very common in certain kind of behaviors issues, like, for example, ADHD, people with depression, people with anxiety. They will cope with these common things, like alcohol and drugs are very common. And if you have a hand into prescription drugs, I mean, like, that's so easy, right? My dog is looking at me with that in-law face. Fear of loss of love, right? Like, fear of being alone, of being left. I had somebody, a friend of mine, a long time ago, that she had that problem. And women at my age, if they are like, well, I am 48, right? Like 48, 50s, if they get divorced, often they feel like they will be alone, right? And the fear of being alone, it makes you a bit, sometimes stick with something that is not enough, but is better than nothing, right? Like, we settle, which is sad. But one of those, the 3 points that the fear of loss of love have is, one is jealousy, right? Like, you are suspicious of everything. It doesn't have to be your partner. When you are a jealous person, you will be jealous your entire life to almost everything, right? Like, your siblings, your parents, your friends, your business partners. Yeah, there is always somebody that has something that you don't have, right? And you go for that thing that they have and you don't. So it is very much so into the competitive mind. Is what do you have that I don't have and I want, right? The second one is fault finding. Is the need to pick fights with anybody that you love. Because why to wait if it's going to fail? Let's just better just get rid of it now and pick a fight so we can finish that. So, you know, like I won't get frustrated. I won't be disappointed. I will just, you know, like terminate in a way that is kind of unconscious, but is a pattern for so many people. And the third one is interesting because it's gambling.
Gambling, okay.
People that loses love or fears loss of love tends to gamble. Is one of the coping mechanisms for people that overreacts towards providing outside things to fulfill the other person, right? Like I'm going to buy this for her or for him, I'm going to buy that for him or for her, I'm going to do this extremely thing, usually goes above and beyond what they can pay or buy, and is a way of buying the other person's love. Is a way of passive aggressive, so you don't go anywhere because I am giving you this. It's a way of pressure. The next one is fear of old age, right? And the points are interesting. It's slowing down. Have to slow down because I don't have, I mean, at my age, what do you want to do, right? Like, no, these trips to Europe, that's for young people. So many hours in the plane, no, right? Like slowing down. Oh, I have to retire. You know, I'm not going to work, I'm not going to be productive, right? So it's that mentality of, for some reason, some people think that, you know, like the older you get, the less you can do. Instead of doing more because you know more and better, and you know leverage, you do less because you feel like you have to slow down, right? There is people at 20 that they feel old. Or people at 20, right? Second point is speaking apologetically, right? They always apologize for something, right? This is one that is not very much that anything that I can relate or anybody that I have around, but there is a way that some people has a tendency to speak apologizing all the time. It doesn't have to be old, right? Like it's just the old mentality. It doesn't mean that it has the age that is older. It's just the mentality it is, the personality it is. Killing initiative, right? Like somebody that says, oh, I had an idea, why don't we go there? And the person would say, oh, no, all of this can go wrong. We can break a hip. Who knows what are we going to find? Mexico, I mean, everybody gets killed when they go to vacation on Mexico, right? Like they find all these excuses to not taking any initiative to do something different, right? Like, no, it's not for us. It's not for our age. And another one that is very interesting is the physical exercise, the tendency of slowing down physically, right? Like spending more hours sitting, doing things that are more manageable around the house, not lifting up weights because maybe you get stuck in your back and you cannot move, and you limit your movement, and then, you know, like the range of motion stops being so wide, narrows down, right? And the last one is fear of death. What can we say about that one, right? Whining by imposing one's will over others. Like, to me, this one is a very interesting one, right? Like, there is some people that fears death, and they would promote fear so other people doesn't do better. Right? Like trying to slowing down somebody else by saying, oh, don't do that because oh my gosh, this is what's gonna happen. No, don't do that, right? Like imposing fear on other people. And they sell it so well that those people believe it, right? And then they kind of stop. They do that, imposing their own will over others. The lack of purpose. When we don't know where we are going, we are not going anywhere. And this one, I mentioned this one many times because it's so important. We all have to have purpose. We all have to have goals. When we don't have goals, we don't go anywhere. And that's extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous. One of them, it could be also fear of poverty, and more so in this country. It's so interesting because when I first moved here, I was so surprised all these strategies that people was doing to save money for retirement, right? Like we don't have that in Europe. I mean, like we don't have this mentality of you have to save. I guess here is because the insurance too, right? Like people doesn't have insurance or good quality insurance or whatever it is when you get older, or I don't know what it is, but you know, like here there is more an anxiety towards retirement, right? Like I will do things when I retire, and then that day never arrives because what they fear is to stop working because the money will stop coming, right? It's a very aggressive installed belief in this country. And I think I'm not saying that people shouldn't save, but the saving mentality comes from not having goals for the future, not having a purpose forever, right? Like you don't set a goal, you don't have a purpose. So yes, we have to save now because we will be doing nothing later, right? So it comes from this perspective. And the last one is the old man's worry, right? Like the mentality of people that worries for everything, right? That's a pattern, right? Like some people, I mean, some people older, but sometimes are not that old, and they will worry for everything, right? That makes you age, being worried, right? Like only this area in your forehead, you always squeeze your forehead because you are worried. That makes you old. Yeah, I should do that too. Man, I don't know. Some people, I have a friend that she's Asian and her skin is so tight and is 10 years older than I am. And I feel like, oh my gosh, why is that happening? I don't know. But yeah, we should stop worrying because worry is not productive. If you worry, take action. Because if you don't take action, then you feel like, you know, like I'm worrying for nothing. Okay, any questions?
No, this is good.
Yeah? Any questions on that? No? Okay. Is that something that somebody, I mean, like any of you can relate at some point
Yeah,
those things, right?
definitely.
Definitely.
We all have little things here and there. I mean, like what matters the most is the awareness of everything, right? Like when you are aware, you can do things about it. But if you are not, it's like, how are you going to fight it? I mean, like it's nothing is going to change ever because, you know, like you do nothing on behalf of that. Okay.
Well, and I think it's interesting that as we age, our fears, of course, change. I mean, you know, for me right now, of course, the fear of aloneness is so foreign to me and so unknown. And it's, you know, the isolation from the COVID virus and, you know, losing my husband and my folks. And, you know, that's so foreign to me.
Yeah, yeah. And when in your case, especially, it came everything at once. I mean, like in 3-4 months, you had like a whole bunch of things happening. And I think this is what is happening at this time. Like, I don't know if, I mean, like my friend Marta back home would say the planets are in a very specific position that they kind of precipitate people that, you know, like has to leave the physical body to be energy individuals, and that's why there is more people that is being called into, you know, like the COVID, or, you know, like those two clients and my friend, and, you know, like and those are wake-up calls. Is what are you going to do from now on?
Right.
There is always a learning opportunity for all of us when there is something rough happening around us. And we have to be really mindful of that, because this precisely time is a time for us to do inner work. Right? Like study, learn about yourself, learn about your mind, learn about who you are, and create goals for the future. Keep your mind busy, because if you stay focused, I mean, like if you go outside and you listen to people, it's just crazy. I mean, like the news, I don't watch the news anymore. You know, like the energy, the environment is going to be negative because there is so much going on with all of these, right? Like you will make a comment. I did make a comment. That was a mistake. But I did make a comment on Facebook about people that goes in big gatherings. I thought they were eating me alive. But, you know, like it's one of those things that, man, it's not that difficult to wear a mask.
Yeah.
It's not that, right? Yes. Do I love it? No, I don't love it. But I don't like wearing bras and I have to wear them.
Tell me about it.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Right? Like I have bras that are way more uncomfortable than wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Like I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. But this is what it is right now. Just wear the mask.
Yeah.
It's not that big deal. And, you know, like, yes, they want to impose. Then don't wear it. Then don't complain about it if you get sick or something happens, you know, because this is, I mean, they turn this illness in such a political statement.
I know.
They have.
Right? Like in Europe, COVID is an illness, and everybody, you know, they fight for the you know, to stay away from the illness. Like my daughter didn't want to come because of the illness.
Yeah.
Not because Black Lives Matter, because she's Black, right? So it's not like, oh, if I am going there, I might be in trouble. No, I mean, like, there's no politics involved here. It's an illness. They will find a solution or they will not. And I think we all, at some point, will get the COVID. We won't escape from this one. So, you know, like, just don't fear. But if you have to wear the mask, wear the mask. It's not a big deal. At least be respectful for other people.
Yes.
Well, and I think it's pretty shameful and pretty petty of us to be arguing with each other over wearing masks that is based on scientific and health necessity. I mean, how petty can we be?
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, when I hear Dr. Fauci, which I really like that man,
Yes.
it's very funny because it's like they put him there and he has to go against everything.
I know.
And it's just so funny how he expresses, you know, like I don't, he says, I don't like it. I mean, like, I wish I could say, you don't have to wear this, but I can't because I don't know what will happen with this illness, right?
Yeah.
Like, it can kill you. So it's not that big deal. Just wear the mask for other people.
Right.
I am wearing it for them.
Yeah, I don't think enough people care about others, unfortunately. That's
It's unbelievable to me. You know, like I went to Whole Foods last week and I saw like everybody was wearing masks. And then I see those two old ladies like beyond 80, no mask. And maybe they had trouble breathing, but they thought, Jesus, really?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
precisely?
Yeah, I have a friend or an acquaintance, and she has really bad skin allergies, and the mask is making them worse. And so she